Hello everybody, welcome back to the internet's best reactions. Today we are talking about the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix, and we are here at PF International. We've just been doing a bit of karting. A very exciting bit of content is coming out around November time, but I'm not going to spoil anything. We're just going to get into the best reactions from the hashtag WTF1 posts. The beginning of the race, let's talk about it, the Singapore Grand Prix. It's usually the best opportunity to make overtakes happen. Didn't really see too many, however, Nico Hülkenberg got very aggressive on a certain Carlos Sainz, which we usually never see on television, but we saw it from the onboard of Lando Norris. Drick_Dickinson, Carlos getting lapped on lap 2. Sad times, and then that was it. We would never see him ever again. Probably see him next year when the TV guys go, oh, probably should, there's a Spaniard at McLaren. What was his name again? I don't know. Just stick him on. Stick him on. Funny bit of FIA ruling from qualifying. Daniel Ricciardo getting disqualified after having a slight peak in his MGUK or power unit or something to do with that, which didn't even impact his qualifying lap time, but he was disqualified anyway at Daniel J. Thorpe 0 when Ricciardo starts 20th. And my goodness me, did the man give us some entertainment while everyone else was trundling around 13 seconds a lap off the pace of qualifying. Danny Ric was going in, getting stuck in, and kind of crashing a few times as well, which is a little bit overboard, but it was great entertainment. Thanks, Danny Ric. At Manila 13 sums up the first 40 laps of the Singapore Grand Prix. Beautiful, but slow. The actual surroundings, the landscape of Singapore is just unreal. You see the aerial shots and you're like, damn son, I'd like to visit there. Then you look that it's actually 35 degrees and 95% humidity, and actually you decide maybe you'll just watch it on television, or that's at least what I'm like. But it just looks amazing under the lights, but they were very slow. They need to do something with the tyres or the strategy or something around Singapore to make it not just a marathon where everyone's just trundling along until the end of the race. And this sums up pretty much what I was just explaining extremely well. Clarky Malarkey comes in with Leclerc sitting in P1. That gif is brilliant. I genuinely, absolutely howled when I first saw that, so good one, Carl. Now, one of the main talking points from the race was the strategy. So you have Leclerc trundling along out in front, all of them on the soft tyres, and then the undercut is obviously something that Leclerc is very much vulnerable to, and Ferrari decided at the very last minute that Vettel is going to have that undercut to try and get Hamilton. Maybe not Leclerc, but they kind of misunderstood how much time the undercut would gain at Harry_is_da. Me waiting for Matt's reaction to Vettel overtaking Leclerc during the pit stops like. Now, when I was watching, I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely fuming when I saw Vettel come out ahead of Leclerc. However, at the same time, looking back at it, looking after the race, with hindsight, Ferrari very much needed to do that to try and jump Hamilton. They had to do it. Track position. I'm very surprised that Mercedes didn't pit at the same time as Leclerc. They just decided to go something different to try and win the race, and it backfired on them. But back to the Vettel and Leclerc incident, I was a little bit like, wow, okay, Vettel, who was behind Leclerc, qualified behind Leclerc, got the preferential strategy. But as a team, it's a team sport, and I do understand that Vettel just took the lead from an amazing outlap, which he did, which I think was like 5 or 6 tenths quicker than everybody else comparatively on those new tyres on their outlap. It was mad. So he did deserve to take the lead, and he controlled it from there. But I think for a lot of Leclerc fans, not me, I'm just passionate, it must have been quite the upsetting thing. Now, with Vettel taking the lead and Leclerc very frustrated behind on the team radio, there was a few front runners that weren't usually front runners because they hadn't pitted. You had Giovinazzi, you had Stroll, I think you had Danny Ric. You had a few people running in the top 3 or 4 positions, and Vettel and Leclerc and Hamilton, they all had to try and get through. Actually, not Hamilton. Hamilton was carried on for a lot longer, and then he came out behind Verstappen. But yeah, the top sort of actual runners had to get through some slower runners. At I am Mathomi, me after watching that Vettel overtake on Gasly. Vettel was absolutely sensational getting through on the guys that were slower and hadn't pitted, especially that move on Gasly. It was very impressive, and you could see from Leclerc, Verstappen, they couldn't get through as quickly, and that's what really secured, or at least for a little while, Vettel's gap until about 3 safety cars came out. But Vettel was very good through the traffic. At Gianfranco B, Antonio Giovinazzi trying to hold P1. It was great to see. It warmed my heart to see Antonio Giovinazzi leading the Singapore Grand Prix. Even though I think it was only for 4 laps, that now brings him onto the statistics that F1 release about laps led for the 2019 season, and he is on there with 4. So good job, Giovinazzi. You've not had the easiest time in Formula 1, but it's nice to see he's led a race. Now, someone that didn't have as good of a race, although Giovinazzi's didn't actually end that well because I think he got screwed over by a safety car, someone that ended, or at least had a pretty dire incident, was Romain Grosjean at Keeley Wild. Grosjean's pre-race reading. Now have a look at that meme, and that was to do with George Russell and him trying to go around the outside at turn, I don't know, I'm going to say 14 or 15, something like that. Trying to go around the outside. Very odd decision because the gap was closing. Russell was obviously going to come across. He just smashes into the side of Russell. He goes into the wall. Grosjean's like, all right, mate, well, I've got my Haas career sorted for next year, so bye. Bad racing, Grosjean. Bad. Another bit of bad racing was Raikkonen and Kvyat. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, you know, it wasn't actually all completely Kvyat's fault. Sorry, turn 1 is a medium speed corner. It's not exactly a hard braking zone. There is obviously braking involved, but it's not a hairpin. And Kvyat has come back from a pretty sure 3 or 4 car lengths to try and take the position at Luca D E8. That's a very weird way of saying Lucade 8. Kvyat, when he saw Raikkonen ahead of him, torpedoes back. That was a full-on torpedo move. He was clearly a little bit frustrated with the fact that he couldn't get through because it's Singapore and it's very much single file for most of the race, and so he just absolutely exploded Raikkonen. Kimi just like, meh, whatever. But Kvyat, it was a little bit Red Bull-esque from back when he got fired. Now we dive into the top 5 posts that we saw across the internet. Let's dive straight into something we've just spoken about, actually, Romain Grosjean and the crash at LEGP. It would be premature to blame Grosjean for that, but let's. It's nicely worded. I like it. It's got a zing to it, a bit of zest. I like it, LEGP. Nice one. So Vettel obviously won the race, and the cool-down room was Vettel, Leclerc, and Verstappen. At Rob Watts F1. The awkwardness between the Ferrari pair in the cool-down room. Vettel, you lost? Leclerc was like, you what? Wait, have you lost weight? It was a really weird pause from Vettel. He literally was like, you've lost. Wait, you've lost weight, It was, I don't know if he meant to do that. I think he's actually quite an honest man to not do that, but it was still so funny. The gap he left between lost and weight was a little bit of a dig. At @the_lollipop man has a great little comic. I love these comic things where they've just created a scenario from the race that is just kind of almost, you know, not reality. I like it. So just have a look at that. Great little submission, all to do with the little undercut that Vettel decided to have. I'm not bitter at all. I'm not. Vettel did genuinely drive amazingly, but Leclerc also deserved the victory. Good cartoon, Lollipop Man. Right, 2 more, and they're both from Instagram for the top 5 posts. F1_ans on? Is it like French for like age? I don't know. Hamilton comes home in 4th. No one. Absolutely no one. Nico Rosberg. Oh, Nico. The new Jacques Villeneuve of the paddock, as he's somehow been labelled now with all of his controversial opinions. But if you haven't seen his thumbnails on YouTube, they are something to behold. Mainly just photoshopped him on the track going, oh, look at this Mercedes, or whatever. It's a very strange way of getting people to click, but it works. So I guess carry on. And finally, this one is a brilliant meme. F1 memes IG, Instagram, I guess. I can give you a race-winning car for Singapore. I love the Mattia Binotto photoshopped face onto that. That is brilliant. And sums up our top 5 posts for this week. Social Media Team Championship time now. Let's go straight into 3rd place. And they've scored another point in this week's race. It is Scuderia Ferrari, and I just like the way it's formatted. They've used hashes, or hashtags, whatever you want to call them. And I'm just liking the new and rejuvenated Ferrari. They're really bringing it back in this second half of the season, not only in real life tracking, racing, but also in the Social Media Team Championship. In 2nd place for the Singapore GP, it is the leaders again. It's Sport Pace Racing Formula 1 team. Drivers, F1 night race next, which is obviously Singapore. Any ideas? Helmet designers. To be fair, the helmets look sick under the lights, so it was really good and great gift. Sport Pace Racing Formula 1 team probably extending their lead, but who is going to get first position. Now this actually wasn't meant to be an Instagram, I don't think they were trying to be funny. I think it was just supposed to be a little transition to their next Instagram slide. However, it turned into the best content on social media this week, and it is from Mercedes-AMG F1, but it is posted by F1_reactions. So we're gonna use their tweet, but it was from the Instagram story from Mercedes when you're trying to be cool, but you end up playing yourself so Bottas is coming in. Oh, it's just brilliant. Just watch that a few times. It is quite possibly one of the funniest bit of content I've seen. He just kind of looks over yeah, that happened, didn't it? Yeah, you're filming. That's going to stay. Cool. All right. Well done, Mercedes. That's 1 point for Scuderia Ferrari, 2 points for Sport Pacer Racing Formula 1 team, and 3 points for Mercedes-AMG F1. And now it's time for Race Rundown with your host, Matthew Gallagher. Race rundown time, let's do this. Let's try and get it straight out the bat. First time. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. This is it. You ready? Are you ready for this? Here we go. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas. Oh. First time. Here we go. This is the first time I am doing this. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Albon. Right, first time. This is happening off the blocks. P1. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Albon, Norris. That's it. There's only 7 finishes. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Albon, Norris. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Norris. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Albon, Norris, Gasly. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Norris. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Albon, Norris, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Sainz, Stroll, Ricciardo, Kvyat, Kubica, and Magnussen. So that was first time, Rory, yeah? Okay, cool. And now the non-finishers. Russell, Perez, Raikkonen. Russell, Perez, Raikkonen. Russell, Perez, Raikkonen. Russell, Perez, Raikkonen. Ta-da! And that is it for the internet's best reactions to the Singapore Grand Prix. I'm so sorry for the slightly late upload for this video. It's absolutely and entirely Rory's fault behind the camera. If you want to give me any constructive feedback, which you know what that means, then go in the comment section below. If you want to use the hashtag WTF1 on social media, you could get involved next time for the Russian Grand Prix in only a few days. That is it. I'm Matt with WTF1, and we'll see you next time. Why are you turning the camera? Why are you turning the camera, Rory? You're ruining it, ruining it. Goodbye!